Hello, welcome. Again, this is Mr. Mackey. I think I've at this point have met everyone. And there it says my name right on the bottom. Anyway, so I'm going to go over the first set of notes with you, and it's based on just learning how to take notes. We have a method here. I think most everyone may have heard of the Cornell Note method, and for us, it's important to use that method. Just so we know that you're using your notes as a study tool, because these are going to be your only source, for the most part, your only source of information. We don't have a textbook. As you found out when you picked up your books, we just had a little packet of handouts. So it's really important that you take good notes and that you use your notes to help you study for the assessments. Anyway, so the title of the notes, if you're not familiar with Cornell Notes, that's okay. We'll talk a little bit about it later. But if you are familiar with Cornell Notes and how to set up your page, you may do so. The title is Focused Note-Taking, and our essential question is, how can focused note-taking help me to be successful in my classes? So if I am going too fast, always just feel free to pause it. All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the rate of forgetting, right? Or how much information is retained, right? How much information can you keep once you hear a lecture or you hear information? As you can see, the rate of forgetting goes down dramatically. So for instance, if you had information presented to you and after 20 minutes, you're only going to remember about 60% of it. So, and then as you can see, it goes down and down. So our idea behind Cornell Notes and using this method is that method of repetition. And I'll show you that in a minute. So here's that method of repetition, or the mode of repetition, right? So you can see that if, again, if you went ahead and after about 20 minutes, you're about 55, 58%, like we just said. But if you go over those notes again, whichever way, you can see how much information you've retained, almost 100%, right? So you've gone over your notes one time within that 20-minute period, right? And you can see that your rate of forgetting is a lot slower than it was before, right? So here we go. Rate of forgetting, you retain almost all of your information once you've gone over the notes. And then after 24 hours, you can see that you've retained still about a C, or 70% of the material. But if you go over those notes again, your retention goes up again, close to 100%. And you can see your rate of forgetting, again, the slope is lower, right? So let's say after 7 days, you take that exam and you haven't gone over the notes since that 24 hours, you're still going to get, maybe a high, a C or a B, right? So, but again, if you go over those notes one more time, then you can see that the rate of retention is a lot higher. And we usually have the test about 7 to 10 days out. So you can see that, if by the time that you go over the notes 3 times, you should be ready for that exam, right? Or the assessment, I want to say. I don't like to use the term assessment. And you can see how it keeps on going up. We don't, obviously, we don't go out to 30 days or 3 months for exams or assessments, but you can see how the rate of retention increases the more you go over your notes. And that's a whole idea behind the Cornell Notes, the Cornell Note method. So the way that we encourage you to go over the notes is that, one, we're going to create the notes, right? So you're going to go ahead and on this online method, we're going to record our presentations, and you're going to watch them before you come to class. You're going to interact with those notes after you finish those notes, right? And we'll talk about what interaction looks like in a few minutes. And then within the next 24 hours, you're going to go back over those notes, and that's when you're going to summarize what you have written. And then come test the assessment, we're going to give you a practice test, right? Or questions that you need to know. And that would be a good opportunity to go over your notes by answering those questions, right? The practice test questions. So that would be a way that you could, review those notes. All right. All right. So here's that Cornell note style. I'll move this. Oops, sorry. I'll move this down just a little bit. So the Cornell note style, and again, some of you have seen this, some of you not, right? So your title, focus note taking. We don't normally give you an objective or the note taking purpose, so that might, I don't normally include that. So, but the essential question we always include, so make sure that you have at least have the topic, or the objective could be the focus note taking, and then the essential question that we provided. All right. So, and then what you are going to do is you're going to go ahead and create your margin. So you can create a line down. Usually it's a little bit more, we encourage you to give a little bit more than what the margin, the red line on the binder paper, that may or may not be enough room for you to rate your questions. And we'll talk about this, right? So our note section, and then our summary at the bottom. So the information that you'll be writing from the presentation would be in this main body, right? So your main body. And I think we'll talk about, so your main body here. So what you would want to do, so you can see this is somebody at chemistry, right? This is, oh wait, no, why is water? We don't usually do properties of water anymore. But anyway, so you can see that revising the notes or interacting with the notes. So you can see some of the methods that are used by evidence of going back over the notes: underlining, highlighting, circling, questioning, adding diagrams, deleting, adding information, using different colors. So this is going to make you more successful. So you can see that this person, so underlining, what you would want to do is they actually used a different color for main ideas, right? So if you don't have that different color when you're writing the notes, you can either underline or highlight the main ideas, right? So we talk about chemical bonds as the main idea, physical properties, chemical properties are main ideas, and then the properties of water are main ideas. So that could be highlighting, right, the main ideas. Circling, and highlighting can also, if you have a different color, this person, I'm assuming it's a girl because of the writing, but it may not be. They also highlighted vocabulary words. So you can see that they highlighted, and that's a good way to start. We give you a vocabulary list in the beginning of each unit. So you might want to go back and highlight, keywords or vocabulary words. That's a good way. So the next one is questioning or questions. So that was this column. So as we talk about putting these main ideas, right? These main ideas, what is a good test question, or what question is being answered within this main idea, right? So you can see here that they talk about different types of bonds, right? And then, so her question is, what are the 4 types of chemical bonds, right? So, the answer would be, covalent, ionic, hydrogen, and peptide, right? So those are the 4. And then she has diagrams in the as far as carbon dioxide and water here. So different types of bonds that she drew on this side, right? So she did add diagrams, adding, deleting information. And again, you can see, she has a good use of different colors. So she added more information here, and I'll sort of take, more information here possibly. So she has a nice use of different colors, of, adding information and going over information. One thing that I would maybe recommend doing, I know it's going to be hard when we're virtual learning, is maybe going over your notes with a friend that's maybe in the class, or even it wouldn't even hurt to have someone in a different class with a different teacher. So maybe they went over something that I didn't go over, and you could share your notes together, and that's a good way to, bounce ideas and big picture things. All right. So here we have different types of ways that you can use symbols within, within your notes. So for instance, highlighting or underlining main ideas, circling vocabulary words, numbering, filling in gaps, the little, thing to crossing out unimportant information that you may not need to know, might be too specific. Anytime that you have a point of confusion, put a question mark there. And if you make sure that you come back and address it, you know, that's what tutorial is for. If you have a question about the notes, you can always come and ask me about it. Asterisk, this would be for important information, things, hey, you know, this might be on a test, right? So, you know, that's a good symbol, all right? All right, so summarizing your notes. Remember that summarizing should be done later. It shouldn't be done right away. And, you know, as a teacher, you see this all the time where kids are, you know, they're taking notes and they want to get everything done. So they're interacting with the notes and they're answering, they're writing the summary right away. And that's not the purpose. The purpose is to come back after a week and write the summary, or not a week, but a day, the next day, right? 24 hours. So you're going to be making sure that you can answer that essential question based on your summary. That's a good way to start. You should have 3 to 5 sentences. So you can do it one or two ways, and they should accomplish the same goals. One, answering the essential question. You should be able to answer the essential question based on the notes. Or two, answering the questions in your margins, right? If you wrote good questions in the margins, you should be answering the essential question. So that is what should be included in your summary. So how to review the notes, revisit your notes as a resource or learning tool. Again, I mentioned the practice test. That would be a good opportunity for you to use a practice test and go back over your notes and answer the questions. That's going over your notes. Again, or visiting a friend, right? And these are just ways that you can do effective setting. I'm not going to go over all of these, but again, you can, you know, we talk about, you know, saying the notes aloud in your own words. One of the things that I like to mention, and I don't know if it's here or not, categorizing, grouping. I have a daughter, she's going to be a freshman in college, and way back when she was in elementary school, you know, she would have a quiz. She would, you know, she had them on the computer and she would print out the notes and they would just be her notes, you know, right? Or the teacher's notes in linear fashion. And, you know, she would have a quiz, you know, hey, Dad, can you quiz me? And I would say, you know, we'll go make sure you go up and study and come back and I'll quiz you. And she would come back in 5 minutes. Oh, I'm done quizzing, you know, I'm done studying. And then I would quiz her and she wouldn't do very well. So it was a big struggle to try to get her to rewrite the notes in a way that made sense to her. She's more of a visual person, right? So she had to do concept maps. And so, you know, it is work. It's, you know, it took her a lot of work, but, you know, she really improved in her studies. All right, so how are we going to grade these, right? So every week we're going to collect your packets, or, you know, you're going to turn in your packets. I said we're not going to collect. So how well you know, have interacted with the notes. So, you know, the big takeaway from this, and again, I'm going to, you know, probably go faster than what you can write down, and that's okay. You can always pause it. But what I'm looking for is, again, I'm looking for the Cornell note style, but I want evidence that you have gone over these notes, right? And all these things that are here are evidence that you have gone over the notes, right? So that's the most important thing, all right? One thing that we didn't include is they get small sticky notes, and that's a good way to like cover main ideas or add questions to it too. So be creative. I know, you know, some of us are more creative or not. I would never think of that unless I had, you know, seen someone do it. So, you know, I'm not a very creative person. So, you know, use tools that other people use too, and always use what works best for you. You know, if sticky notes don't work for you, then don't do it, right? But and we'll talk about a little bit more about. All right, so here's a short video. I'm not going to play the video, but I do need you to watch it, and then we will talk about it when we meet in class. All right, so that's your first set of notes. We'll talk about them more when we meet in class, and I shall see you soon.